I'm going to tell everybody in school, if you want to see my dad on YouTube, to say on it, the tape never lies.
For Lord Cars.
Hear ye. Man of the people.
You know it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive.
Analytical preparation, that's what cars is given. Cars don't discriminate, teaching the men and women. Each and every week, there's nerd to get your focus. Never manipulating stats, lore, cars and hocus pocus. Cars keys, they're never lost. Checking source, never gonna find a better scouting report. Cars going live with the smartest man, my bestie. Deciphering holes on the defense like Getsy. New show, uniforms, orange with the dark sea. Tape never lies, patrons, this is Cars
Keys. You know
Keys.
it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. We gotta break down tape like detectives. No hot takes, just real football perspectives. The Bears nerd dropping science on his terms. TTNL giving Bears press like a perm. Other networks is off with the heads. Stats plus film equals football cred. Analysis like data 10 tries to shred. McCaskey's letting me cake, we keep the 100 crew fed. Cars Keys, let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our texts like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblet. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblet.
We're back. Season 3, episode 39. The Curtis Enos show, I guess. Or whatever. He was 44 too, but let me go get my guy. He made it on time tonight. I'm so proud of him. Where is he? There he is.
Hey, look, mistakes happen. We talked to Maisie about her performance. She wasn't going to delay us anymore. So
we got to get her to update her intro there. She's a little bit little older now, and she's certified, so we can have her drop a couple F-bombs, get the show off the right way.
Yeah, we'll get her cussing up a storm. No problem. She's looking forward to it, and we all know you have no bigger fan than her, so right. It works out the whole way.
She's a smart kid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in a house where everybody hates me, Cars, so you know how that goes. It's
pretty
good
much
to be loved. It's good.
Yeah, at least one of the kids still likes you. That's a big winner.
Oh man, football is back.
It
Cannot
it
wait.
it feels so different. Like that transition from camp into preseason, it gets you a little
Yeah.
giddy. Like, you had that lull from draft to post draft. And now,
Yeah.
like, man, the array of games that are going on this weekend and the matchups and the storylines, there's so much to be excited for outside of just our own, just to see three rookie quarterbacks and which franchises are going to fall back and which ones are going to go. It's giddy is an understatement at this point.
Oh, it is, man. It's this offseason, as exciting as it was, it just seemed like it took forever because we were in, you know, analysis mode immediately. When what was
You're
it?
at like week 11.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like week 9, 10, 11, we're like, all right, we're gonna have the number one pick in the draft. Pretty easy decision quarterback wise. It was for us anyway. What we're gonna do, but it's taken such a long time, and now we're on the precipice, man. And I could not be happier, and the whole outfit just feels different. I know Sylvie talked about it. The feeling being the same as last year, and it just last year I get the excitement was there. Things felt different. We didn't know what DJ Moore was going to do. We didn't know, excited to see if Justin could take that step, but there was still so much doubt
Oh,
with things surrounding this team. And I mean, just you and I were talking about, and I know we're going to get into it, but you look around at some of these other teams, Titans, classic example, they can have some players and they can have big time elite level talent. That's not what kills you. It's when you get beyond that, when you're getting into the depth, that's where it falls apart. And again, we're living it, man. Everybody's talking about Velus Jones. Everybody's talking about Dominique Robinson. We're not talking about QB1. We're not talking about wide receiver 1, 2, or 3.
isn't it nice to argue about
Yeah.
fourth and
Yeah.
like Dominique Robinson was second string last year, right? He
Yeah.
was the third defensive end. He was actually our starting defensive end until we picked up Montez Sweat.
Right.
And now we're complaining about him, even though he's fifth or sixth on the depth chart, right?
Yeah.
Like he is third string right defensive end. He's going to play five maybe
Rotational snaps, maybe. Yeah, exactly.
maybe it's up to 10. But we're not relying on him to take a step. We're counting on other people instead. And so you're right. It's like we wrote this letter to Santa. We know he's going to deliver.
Yeah.
And it's the night before Christmas, and we're like, that present's going to be under the tree.
Yeah.
I'm going to be waiting for it. I can't wait. I can't sleep. I'm too excited because I know what it's going to do. I know everything I'm going to do with this toy when I get it. I just need it here, and time cannot move fast enough.
No, I hear you, and I'm right there. Where was it? I just saw a Scottish Bear saying, Bates, it stings, but that's part of having a quality roster. Are the Bears done? No, they're not. They're far from it. We need more defensive linemen. We need to upgrade on the offensive line, but that's part of having a good roster. You're going to see this more and more. Like, how did the Bears lose this guy? And I know there's plenty of debate can be had, but I'm also not going to be shocked if Brendan Bates is back on the waiver wire in week 4.
I mean, you're talking. No one has loved a fourth string tight end in a Bears uniform more than myself.
Up last night with Jesper, on the show.
I mean, it's a thing, and again, it's fine. When we rolled back and we looked at kind of last year, and we'll talk about like how the Titans are very similar to that point. We had all of this turnover. We had all of these replacements. When you looked at it, right, we had DeMarcus Walker in there. We had 2 new linebackers inside of there, right? Like we made all of these wholesale changes because the top talent wasn't good.
No.
And now this is, listen, everybody's backups aren't anywhere as good as their starters for the most part. But this is the deepest team that we've had since some point in the Lovey era. Now there might have been, there's no Montez Sweat is not as good at maybe as Julius Peppers, right? And Urlacher is definitely above Edmonds.
Yep.
But you know what? I'll take some of these other guys in there. We've got underrated guys, as we shared in the Cox text chain about Andrew Billings and just how impactful he is as a player to this team.
Yeah.
And across the offensive line, how much better they are. And you know what? If Nate Davis can't play or won't play or whatever it is, I feel a hell of a lot more confident with Pryor and Bates and other depth in there that we can handle a couple of injuries here and there. We've never been able to. We haven't been able to do that in about 10 plus years.
No, and that's the thing. And I mean, you look back at Lovey, those teams, and if you wanted to see the depth, you went to the defensive side of the football. That's where all of the resources went. And I mean, we don't want to compare wide receivers. That's for sure. You know what I mean? Especially with this team. But it's just the whole setup feels different. I mean, I know the Bears do some things. They're still
quirky,
struggling with very, very simple things, but it is what it is. And I'm pretty much, I'm sold on the fact that this is really Ryan Poles' show. I don't think that there's a lot of hands-on from George dictating this. When
Kevin
he says,
Warren is very off.
Which he needs to be. Go figure out the fucking stadium and quit having, biopics done on you and shit like that. Go get that shit figured out. And I don't need to see it until you get it figured out. But Ryan Poles is just and I don't ever want to mention Ryan Poles' name and not mention Ian Cunningham, because they're both absolute integral parts to this franchise.
Complete studs from what they have done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I understand everybody getting excited. Now, listen, it's going to come. The time is going to come where he gets his gig. I get it. But originally I was like, oh man, I hope somebody hires him. Give me those 2 third-rounders. And now I'm like, no, dude, hold on. I want him here just as long as we can. But again, Cars, like on the roster, the Bears have the Bears have next. They have the next guy ready to go. That's going to step up there. And it's if Waldron hits this year with Caleb Williams and he's a head coach in college or in the NFL next year,
we've got somebody.
Yeah, they got somebody, and that is not the Bears at any point in our lifetimes.
And I'm interested about the Ian Cunningham thing because you almost get the sense that the last couple of years he could have had a job, but he's turned them down for various reasons.
Yeah.
And obviously you do that because, one, you don't like the options. Like if you're Ian, you couldn't get paid enough to take a Carolina gig, right? Like that job is, you couldn't pay me enough to take the Raiders gig right now. I think that's
Arizona. He told Arizona wanted to hire him.
He said no.
Nope.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Tennessee, I mean, they look better, and I think Carthen has done a pretty good job so far. But that really that whole thing of how they fired their head coach this year with the ownership's involvement, it does give you pause. So now he's kind of in this driver's seat. I think you're going to see New York, the Giants position, come available
100%.
this year.
Yep.
What else? I think you're going to see. There's always going to be a couple. I think Minnesota was drafted very poorly. Are they going to give Kwesi another opportunity? We'll see. So there's going to be places where he potentially could go. But I also get the sense that because he loves it just as much as Ryan does, and Yeah, and Ryan's right. Saints, Jags are going to be options. I wouldn't touch the Saints with their cap hell issues.
No,
So
I agree. I see him in New York, man. I think Joe Shane exposed himself in a bad way on Hard Knocks, and then I mean,
and it ended with the Hard Knocks
yeah,
for
that's
us,
what I'm
didn't it?
saying. You're
Oh.
shitting all over your guy publicly that you're hoping can figure it out, and that's the thing. You know, Ian Cunningham slots in. Does he know any young quarterbacks with upside that can buy him some time for him to look at one in the draft?
But don't you have to think too, though, watching Mara in that show, he showed that he doesn't want an interfering owner.
Yeah.
I think Mara is a big red flag for a lot of guys right now. For a team that doesn't have a lot of patience.
I just, I know how it looked.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, he was also going to give them free reign if they wanted to make the trade, if they wanted to go the quarterback route also. And I mean, I think you're going to get that with a lot of owners, obviously. Hey, I'm going to have a real tough time sleeping at night if Saquon ends up in Philadelphia. He's our, the fan favorite by far. Well,
it's the jersey sale.
Yeah, that's not what this is about at all, Mr. Mara. So yeah, but it's a great point. But Ian Cunningham is strategic about this, and he's gonna have his pick, and these gigs open up all the time.
Absolutely.
But it's just,
and
I just think with a legacy, yeah,
he's on the hot seat.
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
I think Hard Knocks
exposed
him horribly. I think the hit article that came out about Dable, after the season and the fighting on the headsets and blaming everybody but himself and taking responsibility, like taking play calling from Kafka, not scoring at all, and then giving it back to him, no explanation, anything. He's 100%.
Yeah.
He's 100%. That off-season performance, Ryan Poles laughed about it and said, "Yeah, you'll never see that again," because of how bad.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, it was. It was so odd. I mean, none of it seemed professional to me at all. And I said, even down to with the
Uncrustables.
Jesus, yeah, I actually forgot about that.
That's all tell me you're a parent without saying you're a parent. That is all I saw was Uncrustable sandwiches.
But even looking back at their draft process, I mean, they're just sitting in a room and he's staring at his monitor, and then you look at the 1920 football drive, and yes, I understand that the Bears can edit it however they want, but the whole fucking crew there, everybody was in unison. And Ryan Poles is telling you the day before where we're going. Yeah, we're all in on this punter at 122, right? Calls the special teams coach over. Yeah, right, we're gonna do that. We're gonna move back up for Booker. He's telling you the day before what they're doing. They have a very specific blueprint. Yeah, they are.
Right? We're playing chess, and it felt like the Giants were playing tiddlywinks.
Yeah, it did. I totally agree. And that's who Vince said this, and that's what I was alluding to. I wouldn't I think it's 100%. That's why I brought it up. And I'm not saying that I don't believe in Tyson. I do believe in Tyson, but he is a guy that would give Ian Cunningham stability while you're also looking for what's next. And you're not forced into having to settle for a Shedeur Sanders that's going to burn your franchise down.
I think you're exactly. I mean, and let's not forget, Getsy tried to trade for Bagent at the Raiders this offseason. He's, especially with I understand it's limited snaps, but he showed in a quick turnaround as a kid, and as a rookie, undrafted free agent, started 4 games, played pretty decently, had good control of the offense, and then he worked on things like arm strength and others this past offseason. If you're the Bears, Cunningham goes and asks for Tyson Bagent, you have gotten most likely a second for Bagent and 2/3 for Cunningham.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Cars, that is when you're talking the minimum for Velus Jones. That was I wouldn't take anything less. It is starting with a second round draft pick.
Oh,
For Tyson Bagent.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
And I don't even entertain phone calls. Yo, hey, we'll do you a 3 and a 5. No, we're starting with a 2. That's what the Bears are in a position of supreme power there.
It's like a Garoppolo deal, right?
Yeah.
When New England wanted to move on from him. It's understanding he hasn't had that track record or, didn't play that much. But Tyson is a younger guy. He's shown enough. Like, as an undrafted kid to go play and start 4 games for the Bears, and they were not necessarily all easy games, right? You faced he came in facing a ravaging Vikings defense, right? That were blitzing out of their mind.
Yep.
And they went through some really tough challenges. That's something big. And just like I take a lot out of that Hard Knocks, that Chad Morton was pounding the table saying, I'm going to fight for Velus Jones.
Yeah.
There is something there as a running back for him. And, we thought he'd do the outside runs well, but he was handling the inside stuff well. And he was doing this. I think we get so caught up in guys like that are going to be struggled, but how nice is it that people are now trying to call us to trade for our players?
Yeah.
We don't hear about that frequently.
Yeah. And like this, Alex, I understand the thought process there, but where it really falls apart is Keenan's value just as a player is more than a 4th rounder, but it was a money move for the Chargers.
Not everybody had cap space to go get him.
We did. Right. So we look at it as a steal because we're looking at the talent, because the cap space we had, that's easy. Yeah. Oh, sure. Flip you a 4 for him.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
That's the talent wise, his value is above that. But would I trade Velus for a 4th rounder? Oh, yeah, I would trade Velus for a 4th rounder. I do think that there's untapped potential there, but again, he's not going to be. What did you and I say pre-show, Cars? 3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5 offensive snaps, because he's behind 3 other guys, right? You look at that depth chart. He's behind. Well, he's still technically in the wide receiver room, which cracks me up, but that's fine. But he's going to be behind Swift, then Herbert, then Roshan, and then it's him.
Yeah,
and it might be Homer above him.
And it sounds like Wheeler was above him if you hadn't got hurt. Yeah. So that's the way that you got to look at it. And it is what it is. In the end of the day, the Bears need speed, and listen, they're going to use him as a gunner. That's another thing.
And that's a big reason he struck is because, Hightower said the improvement he made there. And that was, if he had not improved as a gunner, I don't think that he would have made it.
Yeah. So, it is. But end of the day, again, just to drive this home, and we can turn the page on Velus until something happens.
No, we're going to spend an entire year arguing about Dominique Robinson and Velus Jones and the
RB4 and defensive end 4 and defensive end 5. That is what we're talking about. And man, does that feel good.
Oh.
That's our worry spot. Think about being a Giants fan right now, talking about Joe Shane. Think about that. We've lived those. You're going out with the overpriced guy that is not the answer. But ownership is like, we paid him. We want to squeeze every ounce out of it, and it's not there.
And it's fun watching some of these contracts that got signed here, right? And can you imagine right now being a Browns fan
Yeah.
and praying that Deshaun Watson goes back to 4 years ago, Deshaun Watson, and not
Yeah.
who he's been the last 2 years?
Right.
Or you're the Panthers and you're like, they barely played, but we spent a whole bunch of money on this offensive line. Let's hope that turns it around.
You mean the one of the most bet on teams in Vegas, Carolina Panthers?
I mean, when you don't have any really professional sports out there, you're gonna get a little crazy.
Well, they see those crazy odds, so everybody's just trying to
make a quick buck.
hit the
Yeah,
golden ticket. Yeah.
but
So
or you could be there's all these. It's just nice to be on the other side
yeah,
where pundits and other fans look at it and say, I still think we're better than you, but you have more talent. We are more worried. And that's a nice change for us, as opposed to us having to be the only ones tooting our own horns.
Well, before we get into the game stuff itself, Cars, we did like our season predictions, kind of, win loss, and where are you falling in line there? What are your expectations for like a win total? And
9-8 or better. I'm expecting 10-7, or that's my hope.
that's where I was, 10-7. Yeah.
I mean, you've got a 4th place schedule. A couple of buddies and I, we had a Labor Day party, and after several beverages, we went through the schedule and came 12-5, because we are playing a 4th place schedule this year and catching a team like Tennessee early. We're going to have the Panthers this year again.
Yep.
And I think we're better suited to split one of each game from our division, at minimally one of each game from our rivals. And I think we can sweep Minnesota this year the way that they're looking to be constructed. If we just did that last year, just those mini game improvements, we are 9-8 instead of 7-10. So I think that's going to be the biggest change for us is do we get hot early, or does this kind of softer early start for us really benefit? Because if they take advantage of this early start, I mean, right, Texans is a potential loss, but then you've got Indy and the Rams, then the Panthers, then the Jags. Like, if you're sitting there 4-2 before your bye week, or 3-3, even 2-4, like, you're good. You come back from your bye. You got Washington, Arizona, New England. That's your turnaround right there.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And where was Alex? Had it right here. 2-5. Then my assumption is that you have a lot of injuries along the way, and Flus,
Absolutely.
yeah, Flus didn't take a step, as a situational football coach. So we have some issues, but I would fall more in line with the
it's injury caused
with the injuries, because last year crazy as everything went and as inept as we were on offense, so many of those games going into the 4th quarter, you either had a lead or a absolute shot to win the game. They couldn't do it.
Yeah, the Denver game, right? Should have been.
Yeah.
And I think having some of the additional people, like I think having Washington in the room helps a lot more with that defensive side.
Yeah.
I think if Waldron is struggling a bit, you still have Thomas Brown and some of these other guys in the other positions that are going to help those things out. But I think our offensive line being improved is going, and our defensive line, like, bet big on the futures of Darnell Wright and Javon Dexter. And if those two guys take the steps that we're expecting, and if Tevin Jenkins stays healthy and plays the way that he does when he's healthy, the defensive lines may not be pass rush heavy, but they're incredibly good. They're incredibly solid. There's not a lot of weakness there. The offensive line may not have that top of the line Lane Johnson type player,
Right.
But if they're all above board all the way across,
and the most
you're a
important,
better team.
your most important part is the quarterback. Getting rid of the football is going to make everybody in front of him better, and that's going to
And
be a massive part of this.
and if you're Minnesota now, are you going to go sell out the house when you've got 3 wideouts? And
Can't.
if you screw up,
Isn't that
it's over.
you have the quarterback that's going to look at that? I think it was Bill Parcells, or maybe it was Bill Belichick saying, you're going to get to a point as a quarterback where you say, yeah, fuck you, blitz me. That's what blitz me. Bring everybody. Caleb's that dude. He's that dog that wants that. And listen, there's going to be bumps in the road. We know that.
Oh,
Not saying he's going to come in and throw for 50 touchdowns or anything like that, but a lot of it is a mentality where it's not too big for you. That was Cars. You heard me forever.
yeah.
Mitch, the leader, just never bought into it ever. His pregame speeches to the teams. I have a video on my other laptop. I'll have to load it up. It's who was the defensive tackle? I think he's with the Raiders now that we drafted him in like the 5th round.
Bilal Nichols.
Yes. Mitch is out there talking to the entire team, and Bilal's sitting there staring at him, rolling his eyes like, Mitch, you sound dumb. And that's what it looked like. And if one dude is doing that, he's not the only one doing it. You have to believe in the guy, in the quarterback, and the Bear. They do. They believe in this kid.
And to your point, when you watch that, I forget what the name of that NFL thing where it's like Fred Taylor and a few others, and Channing Crowder did that interview with him. And Channing Crowder goes, I don't like the fingernail painting. And I just love the fact that he looked at him and went, cool, man, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Like that was it. He didn't do anything else, didn't try to push it, didn't try to argue back, didn't try to explain it. He's like, cool, it's not for you, so I don't care. Like that's the mentality of a guy that you want. We could give Mahomes all the credit. How tired do you think he is about answering questions about his wife? And he's just kind of like, I don't care. I'm going to do it. This is just what I am. And it's a big change.
Yeah. And I mean, you can say that, Lucas, and I think you're probably joking more so than anything. There could be some truth to that with Bilal, but I'm just saying that I never believed in Mitch, the leader. It never sounded believable when he was breaking down the team. And I'm like, man, you're right. Mitch read a book. All of that shit was just this is what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I'm going to do. But let's
break in, right?
Get into it. Yeah. Let's see what we got here.
Let's start with a little bit that I think's fascinating. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. Titans are where we were last year, right? They've got a lot of hope. There's belief in Will Levis, although it's really hard to tell what he is. And it's one of those things where you're going to find out this year, good, bad, and different. Shane always likes to talk about he threw 4 TDs his first game, then threw 4 with 4 interceptions the remainder.
Yeah, over the last 8, he was 4-4.
Which is not even a touchdown a game is terrible.
Yep.
They'll struggle to get to the passer a lot more. Vrabel, for all his failures as a coach or as a head coach, was an incredible defensive mind in the way that he played. Autry was 11.5 sacks that they've got to replace now. Outside of Landry, they don't have that. That doesn't mean that Jeffrey Simmons isn't a great player. Jeffrey Simmons is a 5-6 sack a year guy, and he has been. He's dominant in the run game and can be. But, when you're counting on Arden Key and a slew of other guys that you're like, oh, he's still in the league, that's always a good question mark when it comes to pass rush. There's lots to talk about Callahan and his Cincy style of offense, but don't forget that Holtz, who is the new offensive coordinator, which I don't believe he actually has play calling on his sheet, but he was a decade in Vegas. So he's a Gruden West Coast guy. So you're going to see a marriage kind of a lot of different types here. And so what Callahan liked to call in Cincy is a lot easier to call when you've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and a young Joe Burrow. It's a lot different here. I think the other interesting place is Denard Wilson has never called plays at the pro level either. He's been a DB coach with a little bit of passing game coordinator experience as a DC or as a defensive coach, but nothing offensively or play call wise or run game wise. That's a lot of hope to have in Will Levis. And we talk a lot about how the Bears, invested in the stuff around Caleb, but you're still talking DeAndre Hopkins, who I'm going to assume is going to play still this week. And I know he went back. Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley, great guys, but older wide receivers get nicked up a lot.
Yeah.
If Calvin Ridley was all of that, you would have expected the Jaguars to sign him to an extension. They didn't. That offensive line, I know Latham looked pretty good in the preseason, though he didn't face a single starter all season. But that right side of the line, Shane, is Dylan Radins and Petit Frere is just straight garbage.
Well, like you said earlier, man, it's going to come down to the left side. I think that there's obviously hope there, but very, very young and unproven. But you talked about it, man, with Skoronski, the short arms. If Dexter can keep his pad level low and explode out of his stance, it could be a very long day for Skoronski.
And you got to remember what they're going to want to do is what we're going to want to do. They're going to want to lean on the run early to take pressure off of that quarterback.
Yep.
They can't. I just don't picture a scenario where they're going to be able to run to the right side of the ball that well. And for Latham's ability, he's a big dude. It's his first time playing left tackle. It's a different ball game.
100%.
I'm super glad to get them early because if they can't run the ball or if they struggle to run the ball, and Tony Pollard is the guy that he looked like last year and not the guy that he was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
They're in for a world of trouble. I think Levis can be a good game manager type. He's not a win because of type. He's a win with type. But the Titans, remember, he's a second-round draft pick. This is kind of his make or break, year whether they're going to do it because he doesn't have that fifth-year, option in there. So they've got to make that decision quick, and it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen if he doesn't perform.
Yeah, Laz, it is a big if, but I mean, to say that he just can't stay low is just patently false. I mean, we showed it on tape, and Dex took massive strides in the second half of the season. I mean, was legitimately a completely different player. And let's not forget the Bears, I think, didn't want to uncork him at all.
They wanted him to work into it and just get familiar with the speed and pacing and what works and what doesn't work.
But they believe in him enough that they moved him around. Let's not forget. I mean, we can pull up snaps where the Bears put him out at defensive end last year.
And guess where he's going to be this week?
You're damn right. They're going to put him out there. And that's something that nobody's talking about. No, we didn't see that in the preseason. Well, guess what? You're going to see it on Sunday. You're gonna.
Oh, I mean, you're going to see certain third down packages where it's going to be him and Sweat on the outside. DeMarcus Walker is going to be that 3 tech. And you might see it where it's Austin Booker as another defensive tackle. Or, part of the reason Dominique Robinson has been on this team is they also do put him as a defensive tackle because of those long arms in certain situations. So they can go to size mismatches and really try to cause havoc.
Montez Sweat has done that.
Yeah.
They've reduced him down, to push him onto the inside. Not saying, but I told cars. I think a guy like Darrell Taylor could be absolutely key in this game. Not saying that he's going to be screaming off the edge and just fold the quarterback in half, but his motor is relentless. He plays like his hair is on fire. And I think if Sweat can get some pressure, if you make things hard for Skoronski, Taylor is the dude that's busting his ass. He might end up having a 2-sack game out of fucking nowhere. And it wouldn't shock me at all.
Remember, this is a team that I expect most, if not all, of those defensive linemen to be active on game day. And if you listen at all to the press conference today, what did Washington say? He said he wanted to keep as many defensive linemen in there because he wants to rotate through them and keep them fresh all game long.
Right. Well, right here, great point by your son. Yeah.
My son's a smart kid. What can I say?
Yeah.
And Cleveland's offensive line, though, significantly more talented and better than what we're facing here at Tennessee.
Yeah. Totally agree.
And a more proven run game and more proven kind of wide receivers. Doesn't mean that DeAndre wasn't, but they'd have been a team that had been together and succeeded. I know Flu started off early and he was poor, but you saw the difference in his play calling with the addition of Sweat.
Right.
And I think you saw more of that. Washington is going to have more of an influence in these play calls than anybody realizes. And so that aggression is going to stay. So you're going to see Kyler blitzes. You're going to see you said Taylor wouldn't shock you. If Brisker plays, it would not shock me to see Brisker have 2 sacks.
Yeah. No, I
in
can
this
see
game
it.
off of safety blitzes.
I mean,
and so you're going to keep pushing.
They blitzed corners, 3 times in the first quarter against Cincy? So you're going to see it.
Oh, and you have to, as a quarterback, again, as a young quarterback, what is Levis going to have to do? He's going to have to diagnose that quickly, make protection adjustment, and he's going to have to do that with 2 new starters on the offensive line, with a new center and a new left tackle. And I don't think did Radden's play guard for them last year? I feel like he was swapped out at tackle.
I think so.
Okay.
I think he did swap. I think you're right. I think he did swap out.
So there's a lot of new pieces and a lot of communication that you're going to have with an inexperienced quarterback, a new offensive scheme, new players. Yeah, you're going to blitz and confuse the hell out of him and make him show that he's worth it.
Yeah, and I mean it's going to be some of the same things that we see in Chicago with a rookie quarterback. You're going to test them 100%. But I know you want to get into some of the depth
matchups here. Yeah. So what I find is really interesting, and let's just look at the depth chart just so you see. So everybody in green is net new, and this is why I sit down and say that this team is a lot more like we were last year, because there's 11 new starters on both sides combined on both sides of the ball for the Titans. That's a massive number. And so when you look at it, they're betting a lot on L'Jarius Sneed to be as good as he showed in Kansas City. And I don't think he's going to. I think he's a good corner, but I don't think he's that lockdown type. You look at it, they've added 2 new inside linebackers. 2 of their 3 cornerbacks are new. They've got a new safety. Jamal Adams is injured, comes pre-injured pretty much all the time. But when you look at this, a lot of these matchups are really in our favor. Now that Hopkins is probably the one that gives me the most pause, but if I've got Stevenson and Gordon against those other 2, those are places we win. This was not a good offensive line. Tony Pollard looked pedestrian, and that leads into kind of one of these things to watch for, which is probably the most mind-blowing stat I can give you right now. As of right now, the Titans have 4 guys active on the defensive line.
Pure insanity. They have to make roster moves tomorrow. They're keeping 5 tight ends, but 4 defensive linemen.
And so when you look at this, Jeffrey Simmons last year played less than 60% of the snaps. So you're looking at, more than if you remember the old Eddie Goldman days.
Right.
But it was a rotational thing because of his size. You're going to do that. Remember, Tavondra Sweat is going to be the other guy. And right now, both of those players, as the roster is constructed, would have to play 90+% of the snap inside of this defense.
Yeah, and everything that makes a guy like Tavondre Sweat special, with his strength, I mean, that obliterates it all if you have to stretch him out. I mean, it's not feasible at all.
It's a recipe for injury. It's a recipe for disaster. Like when we started to play Akeem Hicks for a while, right? Like that's what got him injured, is because we required him to be out there all the time, and it starts to nick away at you.
Right.
And so if you've just got one guy to split between the three, now former Bear Abdullah, I can't remember his name again, another A.
Amir
Abdullah will be is that what it is? Is on their practice squad. He'll probably have to come up, and a few others, but that's just bad roster management. If you've got Abdullah Anderson, Abdullah Anderson. Yep. Couldn't remember that. It's a recipe for disaster. So when you look at that sort of thing, if the Bears go out and let's just say they run the ball a lot the first drive, and they've got 11 plays that first drive, and Tennessee goes and does a quick 3-and-out, what do you think that Sweat and Simmons are going to have left in the tank? And if you do that 2 or 3 times by halftime, what are they going to have left? And these are, again, some of the things that I say that is very similar to the Bears, where it's like, yeah, we've got some great top-end talent, but if I've got to sub somebody in, I take a massive step back. Everybody takes a step back. But Tennessee right now, when you get past Harold Landry, there's not another pass rusher that you fear on that team. And so, yes, their inside linebackers can be very good, but if you can't rush the passer, if you can't cause that kind of chaos, as a defense, you're dead in the water. And it's going to be really hard to do that with no defensive lineman in a rotation.
And to get away from Simmons and to get away from Tavondre Sweat, if they are rolling, it's going to be kind of nice to have the ability to have a quarterback that can dump the ball off to a DeAndre Swift or hit a wide receiver like Jesus Christ, Keenan Allen on an intermediate, route, or Cole Kmet there. Yeah, rolling out. Yeah.
Caleb out because he can throw so well on the run, and you're making these guys chase him. You're making these guys continue to run all over the place.
Yep.
Like, this is why I'm glad we faced Tennessee early, because I think the talent is there, and they're going to have to make moves. But man, are you going to start throwing out? And even Corn says, like, maybe they'll do a 2-4-5. Yeah, sure. That's probably what that's what they'll have to do, because they can't then, but they're still rotating 2 other defensive linemen in. It's just not a good situation. So that's something to watch there. We talked a little bit there. New coaching staff, new everything. It's going to take them time. I think it's the biggest advantage here is they didn't play their starters a ton. They didn't face a ton of starters. We don't know what their play calling tendencies are, which is going to be an advantage to them. But I also feel like with all these new players and all the uncertainty, it's not the advantage that it could be. It's one thing if you have a new play caller and Matt Stafford is your quarterback, right? Or Jared Goff, or someone who's experienced, that what they can do and where they could be successful. It's a complete other thing to have to try to grow a player like Will with the question marks at line and running back that you've got. The Titans were a top 15 run defense last year. That was more of a Vrabel thing. That's an effort thing. A lot of those guys just aren't on the team anymore. So I think early, whatever team stops the run, like you're talking first quarter, whichever team is the best against the run in the first quarter, then second quarter, and does that, I think the other team is going to get just destroyed because we can handle it better if they could run. If we can run on Tennessee, that is game over because they're not. If we're two-dimensional, they don't have the bodies to sit down and throw at us anymore.
Not if they go into the game with 4 defensive linemen. I mean,
it's a mind-blowing.
It is, man. It's
5 tight ends.
It's the mic drop, yeah.
4 defensive linemen. Bears are going to have potentially 9 active.
Yeah. That's the thing we've been calling for forever, and I always call it the Philly model. It's having the ability, and I'm not saying that all these guys are going to hit, but man, having the ability to bring in a fresh guy off the bench that just has speed that can get around the edge, those things matter. Having those fastballs, and it's huge.
Well, but I think to your point, Shane, that the other reason that it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to hit, but Javon Hargrave has had double-digit sacks in one season.
Yeah.
And it was with Philly. And you can't tell me that didn't happen because he wasn't required to play 75, 80% of the snaps, that they can rotate that out. That elevates. When you look at the old Seattle Legion of Boom teams, who we keep our defensive backs kind of keep getting compared to in a lot of ways, those Seattle teams just rotated guys through and elevated people. Michael Bennett was kind of like a decent player before he went there.
Yeah.
And then he just blew up. And so, yeah, Taylor could have the least impressive 9-sack season you can ever have, meaning, right, he's just cleaning up other people's misses. But you know what? You still take it.
Yeah, damn right.
So
what do we got next here?
That's really it. The hard part for this is there's not a lot of film to go watch on Tennessee this year. And there's not even a history of Tennessee to go on and talk through because the coordinators are new. Callahan didn't call plays in Cincinnati, and I think he's calling them here. And if Holtz is the guy who's technically the offensive coordinator, guess what? He's only called plays 1 year, and that was when he was at UNLV. So we have enough to know what either of these guys are. All I can tell you is it's a lot of newness. There's a lot of age, right? Each one of those wide receivers, Boyd, Cal, Ridley, and Hopkins, are all 29 or older. All have been injured or suspended for various points during their career. They're not the same guys.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to talk about Keenan Allen's age. He's the same. DeAndre Hopkins is the same age as Keenan Allen. They're both 32.
And Hopkins just played his first complete season in like 3 or 4 years this last year.
Yeah.
And he was good, right? But he isn't 2019 Hop. He's not.
No, you go back to 2017. I'm just going to give you the receptions, and you can see where the lull is. So he goes from 96 to 115, 104, 115, 42, 64, 75. Are you going to see that bumped back up? We'll see. I mean, we talked about it too a little bit pre-show. Treylon Burks, the first round pick. That's the dude they essentially traded AJ Brown for.
What a miss.
Yeah, I mean, horrible.
Horrible. Hopkins had 3 100-yard games last year.
Yeah.
3. He still can do it, right? You jar at him enough.
Yeah.
He'll still be able to do it, but he's not the same. He relied on his physical traits tremendously, a lot more than Keenan ever did. And if he goes down and you've got to move Calvin up a bunch and Tyler up a slot, like it's a recipe for disaster.
They just showed a thing on TV with the Ravens and Chiefs. The average weight of the Kansas City Chiefs linebackers, 237 pounds. Derrick Henry's weight, 247.
Jesus.
It's bonkers.
I watched a video today where like they're talking about like high school kids getting ready to play a football game, and then like this tiny little white linebacker, and they're like, "We're playing what school? How big is the running back?" And it's high school age, the kid, and you're just like, "Oh yeah, I can't tackle that." Yeah, he's never gotten smaller.
So yeah, Taylor Lewan on his pod. It sounds like Hopkins is out Sunday. I know he was limited today, I believe, for Tennessee.
I mean, I would. You don't want to rush him back.
Yeah,
He's extremely important. I think it's better for Tennessee to have, again, the year like we did. Tennessee's got to learn to win, much like we did. They won 5 games last year.
Well, you said it. They're us. They're a year behind.
Yeah,
where we are, and it's very, very easy to see. Levis is, hey, he's got talent. He can sling the ball. He's not, as athletically gifted as Justin was, but there's a lot of similarities when you look at the way these teams are built. So yeah, you're spot on with that comp.
You don't want to rush it, because winning in the end hurts you if Levis isn't the guy.
Touchdown,
right.
Derrick Henry, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah.
Jesus.
11 plays, 70 yards. Touchdown.
If you win enough and you're Tennessee and you get out of the top 10, but you win because of other people, like that pushes you outside of QB territory.
Right.
And that's a dangerous place for them, because you get stuck in purgatory, basically, where you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And when you look at Will, he did have one big game against Miami last year, right, where he threw for over 300, but none of these numbers were great. Atlanta's pass defense at that point was garbage. Everybody had given up on that team.
Right.
So you really got to figure out who he is, and you don't want to rush DeAndre, because he can't get to where he needs to be without DeAndre. It's as simple as that.
It's the Kevin Byard revenge game, Cars.
Oh, I mean, do you remember when it came down and we were all so disappointed at the contract that Byard got, because we felt like, and I think at the time Eddie Jackson was the better safety at that point.
Yeah.
But Kevin's,
well, the just the tackling alone is the ultimate separator. And
absolutely.
And the ball hawking Eddie Jackson isn't, this isn't 28. Yeah, it's not 2018 Eddie. That went away a long, long time ago.
Oh, good times.
But man, I think this is the express version. It's kind of nice to do a TTNL show and not have it be 3 hours long or 3.5 or 4 or 5. But yeah, I think we'll keep this to just about 60 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get out of here. Football is back. Everybody enjoy. I'm sure they all have it on in the background, much like I do, but it's back, man. I'm looking forward to getting offline here and just sitting back and watching some actual big boy NFL football, not preseason. It's football is back, man. It's
there's no feeling like it, like there really isn't. And to have the slew of games on Thursday and Friday and throughout, it just meets. I think, there is one thing bold prediction I think out of this one is my bold prediction is that you're going to see 7 sacks out of this defense in this game. 7 sacks in total. I think they're going to blitz and confuse the hell out of that team. And so my belief is that they're going to do that. And I see the Bears. I see it a slow start, but a strong finish. And I see them kind of winning something along the lines like 24-13 or something along those lines.
Nice. Sign me up, man.
I'll take it.
7 sacks. It's the Caleb Williams era kicking off. It's It's going to be electric, man. It really is.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to it. Things are different. Oh, our guy Mo got in right before we closed up shop. Cars, keys, Misty
Thanks,
Cars.
buddy.
Shane, take it easy on the JSN jokes. I don't need JSN jokes. He's joke enough, right, Mo? So we'll see. There's Cars numbers for Caleb. Yeah, man. Let's do it. We're going to go watch some football. We have 5 straight nights of football with college and NFL. Crazy. Can't wait.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch DJ Ukulele or whatever, however you pronounce the name, just continue to devastate the Florida State fans. And
we'll see. I'm excited. Riley and I will be in Cuse Saturday for Cuse versus Georgia Tech. So Georgia Tech's been playing well, so it should be fun to watch, and then come home and we get the Bears Titans on Sunday. BHL will be back as soon as the game ends. BHL will go live, and maybe it'll even be a kinder, gentler DDP now that we got his quarterback that he's been yearning for a long, long time. We know he loves him. What else does he love?
I love balls.
Oh, shit.
Well documented. Yeah, well documented.
All right, man. Let's get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Cars Keys, Season 3, Episode 39. Next week, Episode 40, Cars. It's going to be a banger.
Starting to approach my age. Great.
I love it. See you guys later. Bears Titans this weekend. Let's go. Bear down.